Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the I'm Only Serious News' Sunday paper program. In tonight's news, Batman updates his Jokers list. Penn State's Sandusky bill starts at $60 million. Detroit stops paying its bills. In the NFL, training camps are opening, and the players are in their get-clean mode. Baseball starts its second half of their season, and in weather, the Devil stops by the East Coast to pick out some heat. This news and more tonight on the I'm Only Serious Sunday paper program.
It's the I'm Only Serious News Network with Dan Mahan. Fresh out of Anchorman School, John Smarmy with author Dave Morrow.
In tonight's top story, the jury of 5.5 white women found George Zimmerman not guilty for the slaying of 17-year-old teenager Trayvon Martin. They all agreed that they believed Mr. Martin acted in self-defense. They also said that they all believe in Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy too. Batman immediately contacted Commissioner Gordon to add Skittles with Arizona iced tea to his Joker's combination killer list. And the verdict gave reason for Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton to do their yearly protest parade. With more on this, we have tonight's guest host, Dave Morrow, author of such books as My Brother's Got a Kitten and I Like Pussy Too. Dave?
Thanks, Dan. I like that you touched on Batman's involvement in the situation. Here's the main difference, people, between George Zimmerman and Batman. Batman did not sit in Wayne Manor all day eating Cheetos. All right, he worked out in an underground prison to get to the point where he was. Didn't you pay attention to The Dark Knight, George? I know you watched it at least 15,000 times. I'm not wearing hockey pads. You know, in my actual unpublished Batman story, which you can find on my blog at www.davemorrowsbrainwaves.de. A big hit in Deutschland.
Our next story, Penn State has agreed to set aside $60 million into a trust for the victims of the Sandusky molestations. Lawyers for the victim have asked that it not be called a trust. Cracker, please. To help pay for the fund, Penn State University will be auctioning off the Joe Powell statue that was removed just last year. iOS News has uncovered that prior to its removal, 3 other teenagers were poked by Coach Joe's fingers that were sticking out, thus adding them to the list of victims eligible through the fund. With more on this, back to tonight's special guest author, Dave Morrow.
Yeah, Dan. In a novel I published last year, Thunderbird Rises, I covered a very similar story. You see, in a rip from the headline sort of style, something I thought that was overlooked during the trial and should have been investigated more was allegations that donors 2 Second Mile had been purchasing children from Sandusky for their own devious deeds. My theory that I came from this story, the rich in this country are eating children. How many children go missing in this country every single day? That's my plea, America. Find the missing children, and the Thunderbird will rise.
Locally, the Inquirer reports that the Public Defender's Office is so underfunded that a proper defense for many criminals will not be possible. Unfortunately for the Inquirer, most criminals can't read. Mayor Nutter, on the other hand, still unable to secure funding for the school district, has renamed the district New Jack City for this upcoming school year. With more on this, John Smarmy, fresh out of the Anchorman School. He came in second, folks, in the class of 2. John?
Thanks, Dan. I like your tie, by the way. Anybody ever say it brings out your eyes? Anyway, what's the deal with this Mayor Nutter guy? This guy sounds like a real nut. No pun intended. I mean, all the guy needs is some sunglasses and a cane and do the peanut dance, for crying out loud. Back to you, Dan.
Thank you, John. Smooth as X-Lax. In the national news, the city of Detroit has filed for bankruptcy, the largest municipal bankruptcy in American history. Once the home of the American auto industry, it is no longer considered too big to fail. Cracker, please. Seeing the writing on the wall, the University of Michigan has lowered tuition to any incoming Latino students. When asked why they are lowering the tuition for Latinos only, university spokesman, tell her like it is, stated, because we have a shorter grass growing season. Cracker, please. That's what they said. That's how they said it. But investigators, folks, for the Asiana Airlines crash in San Francisco have found out that one of the two teenagers killed was actually run over by a fire truck rushing to the scene. In an effort to increase their safety standards, though, the Polish Airways has announced plans to replace all rolled-down windows. In Texas, Governor Rick Perry has signed into law sweeping new abortion regulations. In signing the bill, Governor Perry pronounced, "It is our responsibility and duty to give voice to the unborn." He immediately followed that bill by signing another bill that reduces the voting age to the second trimester down there in Texas. The U.S. will host an Israeli-Palestinian summit to convince Israel to return the lands they took from the Palestinians in exchange for peace. Meanwhile, Mexico has asked Saudi Arabia to help them get California and Texas back from the U.S. In international news, a North Korean freighter was stopped by Panamanian authorities and found to be carrying weapons from Cuba destined for North Korea. When the crew was told that they were being arrested and would be quite a while before they were able to go home, they cheered. That's what they did. They cheered. Couldn't make that stay away from me. In India, 23 school children died and dozens more became sick from lunches that they were given by the school. When asked what caused the sickness and death, authorities stated it was from eating Indian food. Eating Indian food. But more on that. Again, we'll turn to our upcoming fresh out of school anchor, John Smarmy. John, what do you think?
Quiet on this set, everybody. I just got out of school, for crying out loud. You're messing up that concentration. Oh, thanks, Dan. I'm sorry for getting me on live TV. The only thing I have to add to this is I really don't like Indian food. I like spicy food, a little kick, but I don't like explosive diarrhea. Back to you in the studios, Dan.
In sports, the NFL is underway as teams around the league start up their training camps. The big news in Eagles camp is not about Coach Chip Kelly's first camp as head coach, but rather his newly uncovered middle name, Indale. Think about it. In Boston, the Patriots have welcomed newly acquired Tim Tebow by throwing in a tea party. You'd expect. Paul Revere was seen riding off looking for a new tight end to replace their former tight end Aaron Hernandez, now a wide receiver in the Massachusetts Department of Corrections. The Phillies embark on their second half push to the playoffs, folks. Speaking of pushing, General Manager Ruben Amaro Jr. was seen speaking with Barry Bonds and Mark McGwire on a street corner in San Francisco. Go Phillies. The Flyers announced their schedule for next season, apparently to help us forget about not making the playoffs this past season. And in Sixers news, they haven't done anything stupid. Yet. Now, folks, we're going to swing the program over to John Smarmy in his first assignment as an iOS News reporter. He'll be did an interview earlier today with Dave Morrow, author of a new upcoming book.
Thank you, Dan. Did I mention that the camera adds more handsome to your figure? Anyway, I'm at the house right now of a legendary underground blogger and author of his new book, The Apple and the Seed, But I Am the Worm. ... I'm at his house. I've rung the doorbell many times. I'm just gonna come up here, people. I don't know who this guy is. Dave, are you here? Oh, there he is. But he's sleeping. Okay, so I'm just gonna. I feel bad about waking this gentleman up from his nap, but it is scheduled for an interview, folks. Excuse me, Mr. Morrow. No reply so far. Mr. Morrow, this is John Smarmy. We need an interview for your new book. Mr. Whoa. Oh, wow.
Interview?
Yes, I'm John Smarmy. I contacted
John,
you.
yeah. I got your call earlier.
Oh, wow. Nice to meet you.
I was a journalist when I started. Oh, we're doing this now.
Yeah, yes, sorry. Unfortunately, we were scheduled for a 3:15 interview. We have to get started.
Oh, let me put my shoes
Oh,
on.
absolutely. I'm just going to have a seat right here. Feel free to join me when you're ready. Boy, this interview's getting heavy, just like his sleep. How did you write the process of your books?
Well, I took a look around at the world around me, and I realized, there's too many buffalo. Too many buffalo, not enough Indians.
Yes, there are a lot of buffaloes, and sometimes they turn into wings. Chuckle. Now, Mr. Morrow, what kind of medication? Did you take any kind of medication at all during your process of your abstract writing to your fans?
No, sirree, Bob. Just the nicotine gum when I tried to quit smoking. That's all.
I feel like I'm going swimming right now because this conversation is getting deep. Now, Mr. Morrow, you shot out of a cannon. You have had 1,132 blogger subscribers. A lot of young readers are looking up to you as this creative mogul in industry. And what kind of words do you have for your fans that support your art?
Well, I think I covered it best in my short story, Only Cats Meow, from my first published work. It's really life. You see, life is like a box of chocolates. There's always a few coconut ones in there, and I fucking hate coconut.
So, anyways, before we wrap this segment up, I heard you're working on a new novel, even though you accidentally erased it by knocking it into a paper shredder that was in a meth lab. I don't know. That's just speculation. But how are you going to memorize all this information from the book of the first 32 pages you lost? Any speculation on that?
You see, what went unreported with that story, that the meth lab incident that may or may not have occurred, I was working deep undercover. You see, FBI agents, knowing my investigative journalism skills, they approached me to find the distributor, find the Walter White of their operation, so to speak. And I know you're out there. Yes, I know you know this face. And I'm going to find you. And we are going to take you down. In my next book.
He doesn't exist at all. It's just playing around.
That's right, Walter White, folks. Hashtag Breaking Bad. Well, we're going to wrap this up. I'm sorry to disturb your nap, Mr. Morrow. But thank you very much.
Anything to help out an aspiring young.
Ladies and gentlemen, the apple and the seed. But he's the worm. Then I'm John Smarmy. Back to you, Dan.
Well, thank you once again for joining us for another edition of the I'm Only Serious News Network Sunday Paper Program. Join us next time when the rest of the crew will be back from their vacations, and maybe we'll get a weather report then. Huh? Thank you, everybody, and thank you to John Smarmy, to my left, and also to Dave Morrow. And thank you. And join us next time for the I'm Only Serious News Network Sunday Paper Program.